So what car should you get as a real estate agent? Choosing the right car as a real estate agent is a big task and a big deal. Why, you may ask? We spend a ton of time in our car. It's essentially your second office, or sometimes even your primary office. You drive everywhere. People look at you in your car, the way you feel about your car, and so many other factors go into choosing the right car as a real estate agent. And it's gonna be a video that is gonna show what kind of car or which car you should choose based off where you are in your business, and not like the perfect car for everybody. So let's get right into it. And also stick around to the end, because I'm gonna discuss a secret that I wish I knew about which car to buy and the perfect car for you as a realtor. So I remember when I first got my license and I had to choose a car to buy or a car to get, and I would go on forums and watch all these videos, and people for the most part would be like, hey, here's a list of cars, get these right here. But they never discuss, how much you should spend depending on how many closings you have or how much volume you're producing. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you different price points of cars, or different cars you should get depending where your business is today. So what I'm gonna do as well is, according to Fred, which is the Federal Reserve economic data, the average or median price point of homes currently right now is about $420,000. So I'm gonna use the average price point of $420,000 to talk about commissions and how much you get paid. So price point number one is 0 to 5 sales a year. So if you have 5 or less sales a year, the car you should drive is the one you have, or the one that is free. Now I get it, that's not the answer a lot of people want. A lot of people are like, yeah, buy this nice car, because people, when they see you drive up in a super nice car, they're gonna be so impressed and use you as an agent. And the reality is, in today's world, especially after COVID, when people don't even ride with you anymore, they typically follow you everywhere. It doesn't really matter what car you drive. It might matter 5% of the time, and it's really more about how you feel in it. But if you're not doing business, it doesn't matter if you drive around in a Rolls Royce. It's not gonna bring you more business. So if you have 5 or less deals, you need to drive the car that you currently have now, or if you can even trade it in or sell it and buy something cash and have for free, you should definitely have a car that has no payments. And the reason being is that you're at a point in your business, whether you're new or seasoned or trying to figure things out, is that you don't have a lot of business. So you need to keep your expenses extremely low. And typically a car is one of the biggest expenses we have as an agent. Now I get it, you want a nicer car. When I first got started, I had to buy a $1,000 car. It was a 2005 Mercury Mariner from my friend's buddy, because I was working a corporate job making $45K a year. I had a wife and 3 kids at home. We had no money left, but I needed a car. I was able to buy this car because my friend's dad let me pay him $50 per paycheck, which I got paid every 2 weeks, and I was barely able to afford that, and it didn't have AC. So I understand wanting a new and shiny and really nice car to impress people, but you don't need that. So again, 5 deals or less, the car that you need is whatever car you currently have, or if you can trade it in and buy something cash so that you have no payment. All right, so now you're doing a little bit better in your business. You're having a little bit more closings. So price point number 2 is anywhere from 8 to 10 closings that you're doing a year. So if you're doing 8 to 10 closings a year, again, with an average price point of about $420,000, that means you're making roughly at 2.5% commission, about $84,000 in income. Now, that isn't take home. Something that we need to take into account is brokerage fees and taxes at the very minimum. Of course, there's way more money that goes back into business and gear and postcard and so many other things, but we're just going to take those 2 things into account. So if you're making $84,000, let's take out the brokerage fees, which I'm going to take out $16,000. Just to note, if you are paying your broker more than $16,000, and especially if it's more than $20,000, you need to reach out to me, because there's no reason why you should be on a unlimited split with your broker. Even if they just give you 5% or 10%, you definitely need to have a cap on your split. At eXp Realty, we only have a $16,000 cap. So make sure you are not part of one of those brokerages that, we'll give you a 10%, 90-10 split, but then there's no cap. I know a lot of agents and friends that I have talked to, and they're like, yeah, I just paid 10%. I'm like, but how much are you actually paying? And when we broke down the numbers, they paid $30,000, $40,000, or even $50,000 towards their brokerage. Don't do that, okay? So taking away the $16,000 in broker fees, and then after broker fees, we're gonna take out 20% for taxes. Depending on where you live, it might be 30 or 40%, or it might be even 15%, but just, staying as the average, we're gonna take out 20% for taxes. So that leaves you with about $54,400 in take-home pay. My advice is always to pay only 10% of your income towards your car. So that leaves you about $5,400 a year or $453 a month. Now, every other price point, I'm not gonna go through these breakdowns. I'm just gonna have it on the screen here, but I wanted to go through the first one so you see how I got these numbers. So based off of $453 a month that you can pay, it's up to you if you want to include insurance and taxes and maintenance into that. Typically I don't, but definitely up to you. I would suggest two main cars, and you probably have guessed what I'm gonna say. It's either gonna be a Toyota or it's gonna be a Honda. Now, some people might loop in Nissan or Hyundai, other car manufacturers. I personally prefer Toyotas or Hondas just because they last longer and they are more inexpensive to fix. So if we are looking at Toyotas or Hondas, what I would suggest is going on, you know what, let's go ahead. Let me show you how to find cars in your price range and using autotrader.com. All right, so here we are on autotrader.com, and this is how you find cars based off of the price point that you want to pay. So we're on price point number one, which is $453. So we're just going to do about $450. So you come to make, click Toyota, don't choose a model, do your zip code. I'm in the Chattanooga area. And then when you get to this screen, I'll just update a little bit, maybe do 100 miles, maybe 200 miles, depending on how big your city is. Scroll down to the price and payments, and you can update the price and payments here. So again, $450, your trade-in value, not trading in a car, down payment however much you want. I would put at least $1,000 down. And then here's where it's gonna depend, is the percentage that you're gonna get. If you have really bad credit, it's probably gonna be more like 18 or 20% nowadays. Or if you have really good credit, it'll be around that 11% mark. So bad credit, it probably can get less vehicle. Good credit can get about $24,000 worth of a vehicle, okay? So when you update it, you're gonna see all these different cars at the price point per month that you can afford. Here's something that I will mention is that try to stay away from the smaller cars. So if we're talking about Honda, let's try to stay away from Civics. If we're talking about Toyota, let's try to stay away from Corollas. There's nothing wrong with those cars, but when you start having to take a lot of gear, a lot of signs, and a lot of things in your car, those smaller cars definitely won't be advantageous. But if that's all you can afford, then by all means, but just try to get something that's at least a Camry or bigger, or an Accord or bigger if we're talking about Honda. So let's just look here. You know, Priuses might be big enough for you, but if we're looking for a Camry, right here, 2021 Camry SE, 99,000 miles. This is $480, right? Again, 22% APR. I would be okay just going a little bit over, just because again, you spend so much time in your car. But another thing I like to do, just me personally, for seller type, dealer, just because you can typically either get financing, and for the most part, this is something else I like. So let's look at this 2018 Highlander. It comes from a dealership, and then they typically have Carfax reports that you can view. So when looking at a Carfax report, see how many owners it's had and service record history, right? Another thing I look is how many miles a year did they drive. Normal is 12 to 15,000. So as you can see here, this person drove a lot. Now that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Typically those are highway miles, and you want more highway miles than city miles, because highway, you're kind of just cruising, and on city, you're starting and stopping. That wears off the brakes and so many other fluids and things that you have to take into account. So just real quick, this is how you would do a Carfax or read it. You want to go down and see when it's had, the services provided. Does it have continual service? And it looks like this car has had 40,000 mile services throughout its year, oil and filter change regularly at the interval mileage that you'd want. I would say this is typically a good buy in my eyes from everything that I've seen. And again, $17,000 vehicle, you can get it for $340 a month. It's definitely a good buy. And again, you can do that for Hondas as well. Go ahead and go back to Auto Trader, come here, click on Honda, search, and if you already updated the price point, it should still be there. And then you can see all the Hondas that you can buy for around that price point. Typically the higher ones at the top are sponsored, so it's not going to fit the price point. But if you scroll down, you want a minivan, a CRV, Pilot, an Accord, all these cars would definitely work. All right, so now that we're moving on to price point number 3, you leveled up your game a little bit. You're making a little bit more money, you're making a little bit more transactions. And for this price point, what we're gonna do is anywhere from 12 to 18 transactions a year. And again, I'm not gonna discuss the breakdown, is gonna be all right here, but you're making roughly $126,000 and it'll come out to about $88,000 take home. And paying about 10% towards your car payments, you will roughly have around $733 a month to pay for a car. Now, what car should you get if you're around this price point number 3? I still suggest that you get a Toyota, a Honda, but maybe this time you can get a little bit newer Toyota or a little bit newer Honda. And I will start to include Lexus into this. For those of you that don't know, Lexus is the luxury brand of Toyota. All the best engineers that work at Toyota eventually go to Lexus. So it's a really nice luxury car that has a good quality and lasts for a long time. And typically the maintenance is way lower than other luxury brands. So again, we're gonna go into autotrader.com and we're gonna see what we can find with some, nicer Hondas or Toyotas, or some nicer Lexuses that you can find for this price point. All right, so here we are for price point number 3. And for price point number 3, what I suggest is the nicer Honda or nicer Toyota, plus we can add Lexus into this mix as well. So again, on AutoTrader, let's go ahead and do Lexus. I'm just gonna choose Lexus, no model, put your zip code in, and then location again, I typically like to do at least 100 miles. And then if we come here, we're gonna update the payment settings. So price point number 2, I believe it's about $730 a month. So I'm just gonna round up to $750 per month. And that's gonna give you an updated cost that you can expect from a vehicle. So we're gonna search available vehicles. And again, these are all sponsored, so I'm not really gonna look at those, or you can if you'd like. But for $730, we can typically get new-ish Lexuses. Let's see here. This one, 2017 ES350 for $23,000. You can get a 2016 Lexus NX for $10,000. That's a little bit too cheap. 2019 Lexus GX if you're looking more for the SUVs now. Let's see the financing. Does not work. Okay, again, that annual percentage rate is really what's going to dictate that payment. So if you have really good credit, you're probably going to get a better percentage rate, so it might still work for you. But again, here I'll just show you if it has a better credit. Let's say good credit. So if you have good credit, let's see the cars that will pop up. See, it would be 726, so it puts you within that $750 a month. So that's something that you would do here. You come and look for nicer Toyotas or nicer Hondas, and you can definitely add Lexuses into the mix. You want to look for anything that's not an IS. An IS is a smaller body type, like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla. That's kind of the same thing with the Lexus. We can look at the RX or GX if you're looking for SUVs. All those models will definitely fit your needs as a realtor. All right, so now we're coming to price point number 4. This is when you're definitely leveling up your business. You have a lot more closings coming in, you're growing and you're expanding your business, which is a great thing. And now you're getting about 20 to 25 houses or 20 to 25 closes per year. So this is roughly gonna bring in about $210,000, and it'll leave you after your brokerage fees and your 20% for taxes, $155,000 take home pay. So if we take that to the 10% rule that I talked about earlier, you will be left with around $1,200 a month for a car. Now, if you are a car person like me, this is typically when you get into the area where you can get a little bit nicer car. And what I would suggest here is a newer or nicer Lexus, or this is when you can start thinking about other luxury cars like BMWs, Audis, or Benzes, right? But here is the caveat. If you get a really nice Lexus, typically, again, you're getting that reliability that you get with Toyota. But when you go to the German side, when it's BMW, Audi, or Benzes, you're gonna get luxury. And depending if you like the sporty style or the more luxury style, you're gonna get that. But since we drive a lot, you will easily put anywhere from 15 to 30,000 miles a year in your car, depending on what city you live and how big your city is. We live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we live in a relatively small city. And we easily get about 20 to 25,000 miles a year in our cars because we drive around so much, doing a lot of showings and helping people buy houses. So that's definitely something you need to take into account when you're buying German cars or different cars that need a lot more maintenance. Plus, they are way more expensive as far as the maintenance goes. So that's why you see a lot of the older real estate agents that have more of the Lexus style cars just because the maintenance is cheaper and the reliability is there. But if that doesn't matter to you and having a nice car is more important to you, which I definitely understand because I am in the same boat, you can definitely go into cars that have a lot more maintenance, but it is a nicer car. All right, so now we're at price point number 4, and now we can start spending a little bit more money. Again, I talked about getting a nicer Lexus, or we can get into the German cars like, BMW or Audis, so on and so forth. I personally prefer BMWs or Audis, so let's just go ahead and look at some BMW models. Again, no models, zip code, and go ahead and hit search. So let's increase the distance to about 100 miles, and then we're going to increase the price point. We're at price point number 4, so I believe it's about $1,300. So if we increase that, that gives us about $68,000 worth of vehicle. And again, this is at the lower price, lower interest rate that you're going to find. Just looking real quick at some BMWs, we can get an X4 for $30,000. We can get a 2018 for $41,000. We can get an M4 for about $63,000. That'll be under that $1,200 a month. We can get a 2 Series or a 5 Series for about $40,000. So these are definitely within your wheelhouse. Let's just go ahead and look for Audis. So if we're looking for Audis and you want more of the SUVs, you can get a Q7 for $35,000. You definitely have the pick of the litter, right? You can essentially get any luxury type vehicle that you want in any brand. All right, so we look here. You can get a 2025 Audi Q7 for within your price range, give or take. Let's see here, this is at 11%, so it might be a little bit more, but at this point it's okay to spend a little bit more on a car because again, you spend so much time in it. But something that I want to reiterate is that when you go these German imports, they are more expensive as far as maintenance goes. They are more expensive when things break down. So maintenance is more expensive, plus if you have to fix anything, it's probably gonna be double, triple, or quadruple the cost of a Lexus or a Toyota or a Honda. Just keep that in mind. All right, so we finally reached the last price point, which is price point number 5. And this is typically what I like to call the ball out price point. This is where you have 30 or more transactions and you're roughly making at least $315,000 and you're taking home $239,000 after your brokerage fee and after your taxes. Okay, so if you're taking home $239,000 and we take that 10% for your car, you roughly have about $1,600 for your car payment. Now, depending on how you set up your life and your lifestyle, you might be able to spend a little bit more on your car if you want something really nice, or you can spend a little bit less. But roughly for about $1,600, you can essentially get whatever car you want at this point, because again, you can go a little bit more if you want that, ultra nice luxury car, but it's definitely up to you. And this is definitely the stage where you can ball out and get the car that you desire or the car of your dreams, whichever car that would be. But here is a secret that I wanted to share with you guys. If you can get to stage 4 or 5 or even stage 3, but stay at a stage 2 car, this is definitely going to be great for you because you can delay that gratification of getting the ball out car or the really nice BMW or the really nice Lexus, but stay in the price point of car number 2, which is just a nice Honda or a nice Toyota. There is nothing wrong with that, and you can use a lot of that money that you'd be spending towards cars, towards investments, towards your business, towards growing your business, maybe starting a team or buying rentals or flipping property. If you can delay getting nice things for a long time or as long as you are able to, you will definitely be able to ball out way more on the long term. So this is a secret that I wanted to share, and it's something that I wish I knew, that I would love to have delayed getting nice things way more and set more of a foundation financially, whether getting more rentals or investments or growing my business faster and pouring that money back into my business. But it's definitely something that I learned and I have done now. So I don't have a super balled out car, and I am in the balled out phase. I have way more than 30 closings a year, but I'm holding off spending all this unnecessary money on cars or houses or things because I'm trying to grow my business and I'm trying to help other realtors grow as well. So I hope this list was helpful to you. I hope that you are able to find the question that you're asking for. And if it's not a Honda or Toyota, there's other brands like Nissan or Ford or other places that you can find very inexpensive cars. But again, try to delay that gratification of buying something very expensive until way later on. You really don't need that super nice car for people to take you seriously or bring in more business. That's really going to be up to you and the business that you build. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you're a new agent or seasoned agent, you're trying to grow your business, not really sure where to start, whether it's YouTube or social social media or making content, reach out to me. I would love to help you guys grow your business. I love helping new realtors, and I definitely would love to get on a Zoom call and discuss your business, see how we can help. Until next time, take care and God bless.